Many thanks for your company. This is the news review segment on the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and my guest in the studio with me this morning is Dr. Ezekiel Ajekum Obeng from the NPP communications team. Doc, good morning. It's good to have you in the studio again to review some news stories.
Good to be here too.
Right. So like we do, I'll give you a minute to walk us through your trail of thoughts this morning. What's on your mind?
My flag bearers campaign is on my mind. He was in about 3 constituencies yesterday in Greater Accra, the Okankwe Central and North constituencies yesterday. And as always, we thank the good people of Ghana for showing up to listen to our flag bearer. He was on the streets, he was in the churches, he was in the market, and the responses were quite great. And we hope that the engagement continues. We are always driven by the positive and the criticisms we receive from the general populace as to how we can shape things, listen to their concerns. Even though we brought out a manifesto, we went to them, spoke to them to get a manifesto. But feedback and continuous feedback is quite necessary. So we thank the people of Ghana. Today he's at Tema, the 3 Tema constituencies to engage their constituents. And we pray and hope for a smooth day on the campaign trail. Okay. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Let's get into our newspapers, starting with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, declare national emergency on Galamsey. Professor Adei to President Akufo-Addo. And this story about how Galamsey activities are destroying our water bodies, killing all the living things in the rivers and the other water bodies. And now Ghana Water Company Limited cannot even supply water to our homes. It's devastating, to say the least. When you see that drone shot, it's like a battlefield. Everywhere is brown. I don't know what you make of it, but for our viewers' sake, let me get into the story a bit, and then I'll come back to you for your reflections. A former chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Professor Stephen Adei, has urged President Akufo-Addo to declare a national emergency on illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Such a move, he said, would give the president emergency powers to decisively deal with the menace, which he described as a gargantuan environmental degradation. Quote, Galamsey is a major reflection of political, traditional, and security leadership failure in this country. Do you think we have failed, Doc?
I think we only fail when we give up the fight. That's the only time we fail. If you try something and you are unsuccessful, you don't back out.
That's what we are, unsuccessful.
I'm just saying that when in your daily endeavors, if you try or you put your mind to something and you completely do not get the whole outcome you're looking for, it doesn't mean you failed. It only means that you need to revise your notes to prosecute the agenda once more. So we only fail when advocates like Prof. Adei ceases to speak. We only fail when the media stops to give some highlights on the issue. We only fail when active players in the political field stop to give ideas as to how things can be refined to make things better. We only fail when community and members fail to stand up to demand accountability and put their opinion, before everyone for us to judge or to see how best we can. Opinion leaders, chiefs and people or the various communities affected. We only fail when we stop the advocacy.
I like that. So we only fail when we stop the advocacy.
So we should.
And also, I get the concept of failing forward. Like if you're unsuccessful, there's that. Is it a kindergarten rhyme? Try again. It's a lesson you must learn. Try again. But hold on a second. And if at first you do not succeed, try again, right? And then you should persevere and something like that. So yes, we only fail if we stop the advocacy, if we stop speaking up.
Yes.
But if we've got to the point where we are unable to supply water, supply is now at 40%, and fishermen are coming back with empty nets. And this is also on the back of the president a few years ago saying that he's putting his presidency on the line. Also, I mentioned that I understand the concept of failing forward and trying again. Is this not in any way a failure we should revise?
I'll be entirely and quite surprised. I wish Ghana Water Company could come again, because from where I sit, with environmental degradation and climate change. It's having effects on a whole lot of, natural resources, climate change, for example. So if we need to discuss about water shortage, I believe we should go beyond the usual, apportion of blames to certain quarters. If we should stop Galamsey today and climate change still lingers on, we are still going to have issues with our water.
Are you saying they are unable to supply water
they
because of climate change?
They are pushing the entirety of the course on illegal mining. It could be part, but to say that our water is no more at the level where we expect because of illegal mining alone, I beg to differ.
There was a documentary, let me put some facts to you. There was a documentary produced by Richard Kojunyako, my colleague here, and he visited where they process water in the attempt to purify. And there was a measuring some cube where they filled it with water from the river, which is the main source of water that is usually purified, and then they clean it up and pump it into our homes. And the turbidity level of that water will shock you. About 2/3 of the entire cup was filled with silt, right? And you could clearly see, I hope we can find that, you can clearly see that from the bottom to about 2/3 of the volume of the cup, it was just brown, silt, dirty stuff. And then it was only the 1 out of the 3 parts of the cup that was clean water. And they are not only saying that it is illegal mining without backing it with facts. They're saying that the turbidity level of water that is usually they would use as the source to process water has risen to 14,000 NTU. And our equipment and facilities are not even created or designed to handle that level of turbidity. That's the problem. So if you say that Ghana Water Company Limited should come again, because there are other factors like climate change, they are reporting on what's really happening. The reality on the ground is that the source of the water, the rivers, Ankobra, Pride, and the rest, that they are using, purifying to pump into our homes, have risen to high turbidity levels because of illegal mining activities.
The last time I was here, we were discussing some monies the finance ministry had requested for the agri ministry because of what? The shortage of rainfall in the country. Should we stop illegal mining today and the shortage of rainfall? Are we going to say that we will produce water at the optimal level? So clearly, I'm saying that
the name of the plant is Setre Himan plant in the central region.
I'm saying that the entirety of water shortage, we can discuss it. But to apportion the entire blame on illegal mining, to me, where I sit, and my knowledge in environmental health, I beg to differ. That's not to say that illegal mining is not contributing to our water situation. The turbidity level you mentioned, for example, even without the shortage of water, it increases the cost of purification. With turbidity alone, it means the Ghana Water Company needs to cough a lot of money to clean our water before they send the water through our pipes.
I'll take that.
So
point.
yes,
even if it's not the sole cost.
Yes, even the cost. Yes,
right. It is cost is the most cost, right? If we take about 3 reasons why we have water shortage, Galamsey activities will make up about 2.5%. That's what they're reporting. I'm not yet just telling you.
I would like to see data.
We had the Water Resources Commission director here, Dr. I've forgotten his name. And he was telling us that they send reports to Bob Alpha, and he was telling us that they send reports, monthly reports to the ministers, and everybody knows. And these are facts. He gave us hard facts. Let's interrogate the facts. I'm just trying to tell you, Doc, that you cannot say that the Ghana Water Company Limited should come again because Galamsey activities are not the reason.
They are not the sole reason for shortage of water.
Hold on. Galamsey activities is not the reason why they are unable to supply.
It's not the sole reason why we are unable to produce water in the country. I'd like to see data, I'd like to see facts. Because yes, like I said, from where I sit, environmental degradation, climate change,
I just gave you some
and
facts,
all that.
So you just didn't hear it.
You said, let's say...
I told you that our colleague, we saw the videos.
I have agreed with you. I've agreed with you. And I've even said that even if Galamsey is not contributing to some form of shortage of water, the mere turbidity levels alone increases the cost of purification. I agree with you.
So we are saying the same thing.
Exactly. But I'm saying that to apportion the blame entirely on Galamsey in this environment we find ourselves, I believe we need better and better particulars.
Let me introduce our second guest.
To buttress that point.
You hold on a second. We have lawyer Osman Ayariga. He's Deputy National Youth Organizer from the camp of the NDC. Welcome aboard, lawyer Osman Ayariga.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Cherished viewers. Good morning to you.
Great. So I'll give you a minute since we've already started the conversation. First, walk us through your trail of thoughts and then we come back to the story.
I just heard you speaking about Galamsey issues and what causes rainfall and the fact that Galamsey is not the sole reason why we have low rainfall. Why we have low rainfall this year. And first and foremost, I want to tackle the issue of Galamsey. And I think we have reached a level where the level of impunity, the rate at which people mine illegally, the full glare of the public, it's, I don't know the right word to use, but it's disappointing. You drive through the main road, the main highway between Linda Door, where they call Bonsu Junction, before you get to Inyinem. And you realize that when you get to, I'm looking for the right name of that town, Osiam or something. Osino, yes, Osino. Just when you pass Osino, before the bridge, you see on your left and your right, just 10-20 meters away from the main road, you see huge excavators. You see people seriously mining, and you can see that the small Osino River is being polluted by most of these activities. And it's not as if they are hiding. They are doing it openly. Now, between Obuasi to Dintra, just when you're about entering Dintra, there's another bridge there. And just when you look to your left and right of that bridge, that river, you see people with excavators mining openly. And just after that bridge, there's usually a police barrier. And the police, they look so unconcerned. So the issue of Galamsey, for me, it's now a serious national security issue and a national security threat. That I thought the president would have gone beyond the mere rhetorics and actually fought it. Okay. But what do you see? You see people mining with so much impunity. And you ask yourself, what is really backing them? What is giving them that kind of impetus to do this openly, without fear? Are they being backed by...
Since that's what's on your mind, let me just, bring you back to the conversation and then you can land on your submission. So the story is that Professor Stephen Adei is saying that President Akufo-Addo should declare a national state of emergency on Galamsey so that we can decisively deal with the menace head on. And I was also giving Doc some facts about how Ghana Water Company Limited is saying they are unable to supply water because of Galamsey activities and all the issues going on around the country. And in fact, you hear eco-conscious citizens. We had Awula Sewa here a few days ago, and she was saying that they want to even declare some sort of demonstration so that citizens can unite and let our voices be heard, because this affects us. If you have clean water in your home as we speak, it doesn't mean that the problem will not catch up with you anytime soon. Central region is just behind us. So that's the story, and I'll let you land on your thoughts and then we continue.
Yes, I honestly don't think we need to declare a state of emergency. What we just need is a strong will and goodwill from the leadership of this country. What we expect is the president to walk the talk. It's not just about rhetoric, that I will fight Galamsey with my presidency, etc., etc. Whether you like it or not, there are certain menaces that even predate or were there before the emergence of the president. But when it becomes prevalent, when it becomes extremely open, when you have more of it happening during your tenure, then you need to face it strongly, and you need to face it by the horns. That was what we were expecting from His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And as I said, it's not just about mere rhetoric that I'll fight Galamsey even at the risk of my presidency, at the peril of my life. No, we expected him to walk the talk. But what did we see? We saw the president, time without number, trying as much as possible to clear people who were even mining illegally within the forest, saying they were not mining. You remember the story of the Akotam mining, etc., etc. We had stories of people within the presidency who were expected to go on an operation to stop Galamsey, but later they became complicit. We understand the complexities and the complex nature of this entire Galamsey operation and how people can easily be corrupted so far as Galamsey is concerned. But all you need is a strong-willed person
Great.
who believes that I'll clear anybody who stands my way.
Okay,
But if you are a bit lukewarm about it, if you want to brush the left and sometimes leave the right, if sometimes you get conflicted by your own party people, by your own appointees getting involved in Galamsey, then it becomes a problem. I think I heard a story about...
So you don't think we should declare state of emergency, rather you think that it's a lack of will to actually fight the menace? So what we need is a will.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's do some other stories. I'll come
just,
to you.
Just 30 seconds. On the bit of the Osino stretch of the Kumasi Highway, sometimes you might mistaken the road being constructed to be Operation Galamsey site.
Doc, I know the difference. I know the difference between construction and I know the difference between construction and no.
I use the road just last weekend.
I was very specific. I was very specific.
I use the road.
Gentlemen, let's do some other stories.
That particular stretch.
39 picked up presidential. Oh, we have 39 people who picked up presidential forms. That's interesting. Basic schools reopened Tuesday, and I keep asking myself, should we be capping this number? Before one day we wake up and half of the country wants to be president. Consumer Protection Bill needs urgent attention. That is from the Consumer Protection Agency. Pay 150,000 Ghana cedis to 6 election violence victims. That is the court's directive. Let's start from there. Let's continue from there. And that story is on page 16 of the Daily Graphic, and I'll get to it in a bit. Beg your pardon. Yeah, here we are. So the Wenchi High Court has ordered the government to pay a total compensation of 150,000 Ghana cedis to 6 persons who suffered various injuries during the violence that characterized the 2020 parliamentary election in the Techiman South constituency. Each of the 6 persons is to receive 25,000 Ghana cedis as compensation. The court, presided over by Justice Frederick Naura, held that the compensation for the 6 persons was in respect of, quote, violation of their right to life and infliction on psychological trauma from being shot at by the state security forces. Does this come as good news to you? I'll start with you, Doc.
Yeah, for the court to do its work, then it's a good news. But from the angle I would like to tackle this issue, is about elections and electoral violence.
Right.
That no one needs to suffer even a fingernail. I mean, not even the nail bed of your finger should suffer because of elections and electoral violence. We should all be advocates of peace. The various political actors, especially the 2 major political parties and all other stakeholders within and without the electoral processes should all come together and realize that a competition of ideas is not personalization, it's not individual attack, physical or verbal, but rather what we put forward to the public. My brother Osman is here to tell us what the NDC has to offer should it be given opportunity. Same way we've learned a manifesto, and we need to concentrate the discussions on what we have to offer as political parties and political actors. As to the excesses of elections, we all advocate that no one should suffer even a drop of blood for anything. If you suffered a leg amputation or a hand amputation and you are being given even 1 million Ghana cedi, you are incapable to work. So even if the court granted you 1 million Ghana cedi, how long are you going to be sustained with that 1 million Ghana cedi when your leg is gone, your arm is gone, and you can't function? You are incapable of holding a job or having something to do meaningfully for your life. You are disabled for the rest of your life. So no matter what, we plead with the public, do not be enticed by anything whatsoever to put yourself in harm's way for anyone's political agenda, for anyone's political interest whatsoever. Let's all be advocates for peace, because yes, in the end, the highest anyone could get from the ruling was 25,000 Ghana cedi. How much is 25,000 Ghana cedi if you lost an eye?
What's the value of that money in today's economy even?
How much is the 25,000 Ghana cedi if you lost an eye or even lost a finger? Clearly, it can sustain you, but up to a certain point. It can't take care of you entirely. If you are the breadwinner for your family, you've not just disappointed yourself, but the masses that look up to you for sustenance and for their livelihood. So let's continue to be advocates of peace. Let's entreat political parties and political actors to preach message, to preach policies. Let's compare records of both parties, especially the leading political parties who have had the opportunity to rule the country, and let the good people of Ghana decide. Once again, no matter the enticement, please do not get on the street to foment violence or any shape or form just because of a political interest.
Okay. Mr. Yariga.
First and foremost, I want to sympathize with the affected persons. Once you are involved in electoral violence and you're affected, I don't believe any amount of money can make up for any misfortune or mishap so far as violence is concerned. But also, I believe that there has been a lackadaisical attitude towards curbing this electoral violence. And we are just 3 months to elections, and you hear all sorts of direct and indirect threats, hate speeches, speeches that heighten tensions, speeches that instead of you experiencing or listening to leaders speak in a very decorous and very respectable manner, you hear all kinds of threats. And in the past weeks, we've heard all those threats. I think the recent one had to do with their national youth organizer who was saying he has the muscles, etc., etc. And I look at such speeches and I said, this is rather unfortunate. Excuse me to say, this is speaking like, I don't want to use certain words to sound derogatory to certain people, but it's rather unfortunate that leaders of such caliber will be speaking in such violent tones just to incite people to go out and foment trouble. In the last election, I don't believe anybody should even lose a finger as far as elections is concerned. It's a debate and a contest of ideas, and you realize at the end of the superior idea sometimes wins, not all the time, sometimes. Then you have other things that constitute or that make up to people win an election. There's a campaign, there's a candidate, dynamics, etc., etc. Not a single person should lose anything, whether his arm, his eye, or even his life, so far as elections is concerned. In the last election, what did we see? In just teaching man, we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lives were lost. Ayawaso West Wagon, what didn't we see? Someone lost his leg.
Okay.
Then
so
you come all the way.
We all condemn any electoral violence.
All the way to Ablekuma Central.
Yes.
And you realize that
we know
election violence, yes,
so
people,
from the camp
people
of the NDC,
out there, yes.
Hold on a second for me. What exactly do you think you are doing as a party to ensure that December 7th is as peaceful as this country can ever get? Also, on the back that you've made these demands, we know that you're still waiting to hear from the Electoral Commission and all the stakeholders involved, those who you've sent out those demands to for the implementation of the recommendations from investigations in all those cases, Ayawaso West Wagon included. But you are deputy youth organizer, and mostly when conflict will erupt at polling stations, the youth are the center of it. How are you ensuring that your messaging is also devoid of instigating violence come December 7th?
We have run a clean, pure, transparent, credible campaign. We have stuck to issues. We have campaigned based on issues. We have campaigned based on the track record of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We have campaigned based on the fact that we have a much more superior message that resonates and speaks to the heart.
If you say so yourself, huh?
No, it's
that
not.
You have a superior
it's a much more superior message. I think we can have a debate so far as message is concerned. We can have a debate so far as policies are concerned. And you agree with me that we have a much more superior message. Anywhere you find any better message in the NPP's manifesto, it was copied from the NDC's manifesto. And they have, at a point, agreed to that. So let's move on. It is out there, their own director of communications.
No, I'll come to you in a bit.
Their own director of communications accepted on TV, I think in this same studio, that it is possible that they copied from the NDC's manifesto, and we challenge them. That is possible, yes. So that's what I'm saying, that anywhere you find a much more superior policy in the NPP's manifesto, it was copied from the NDC's manifesto.
But you are refusing to sign a peace pact, though. That's what I was alluding to.
I'm coming to that. So we have campaigned based on our message. We have campaigned based on policies. We have campaigned based on our track record. However, we do not understand why people lose their lives during an election process. And up to now, justice has not been meted to those families. And the president is not interested in making sure that justice is being served. And for the president of the land to come out and tell us that a few people died, 8 people is not few. Even one person to die just because he wanted to exercise his democratic rights is unacceptable. So we in the NDC, we are for peace. But we are telling you that before we sign any peace pacts or we go into any peace agreement with any political party, justice must be served. Okay. Quite apart from that,
so
the main
like
actors, quite apart from that, there must be justice. No, if you want peace, give us justice. You see, the two are mutually inclusive. You do not go seeking for peace when there's no justice.
Okay, land there for me. I'll come back to you. Because of time, I'll come back to you. Doc, quick reflections and then...
Obviously, it's difficult to understand my brother and the NDC sometimes. The moment we launched that manifesto, they said it was hollow. Then you go into the manifesto and say, oh, whatever is in there is ours. Are you trying to say that the hollow manifesto you claim we launched but happens to be yours? Meaning the ideas we proposed in the past were hollow. That's a question for the NDC to answer. But on the issue of superiority of policies, we've all known which party has had superior policies. I mean, for democratic dispensation, which party is known for policies and which party is known for otherwise. And on the issue of peace pact and whatnot, I mean, should we go back time immemorial to say that the affected persons at Tripoli, the affected persons at Itiwa? So the moment you start bringing in certain occurrences, then you are trying to also push us to say that when you were in government, if you want to put the blame squarely on this administration, then we can equally place certain blames on you
as well.
However,
so we should get away from the blame game.
We should run away from those
focus
things.
On the issues.
If anyone is affected,
Doc,
we all advocate.
It's interesting that, I mean, we're still talking about elections, but I want to manage the time. 39 people have picked up presidential forms. Is this in any way reflects in the people's thoughts that they would probably do a better job as individuals, as independent candidates than the two major political parties who've run this country for what, 32 years or so? You've had your share. This NDC's ruled for 16 years. You've ruled for 16 years. And now we have 39 people picking up presidential forms. I don't know if the EC is going to receive all back, but let's get into that story. So with the Electoral Commission set to receive nominations for presidential and parliamentary aspirants, this year's presidential ballot paper will be long if all the aspirants return their forms. Apart from 12 registered political parties, 27 individuals also picked up codes to download the presidential forms to contest as independent presidential candidates, a highly placed source at the EC told the Daily Graphic. What's happening here?
It shows that our democracy is growing and it's maturing.
So it's good?
It's good. Let people have the right, let people have the personal belief that indeed they can steer the affairs of the country. Picking a form or declaring an intent does not necessarily mean that people would end up on the ballot sheets. Over the years,
we know the processes.
Over the years, we've seen certain numbers that in the end, everything was trimmed down for meeting one criteria or criterion or the other. So let people...
The question I'm asking is, don't you think we are gradually getting to the point where individuals feel like they can do a better job than the people we've trusted to run this country for 32 years?
It's anyone's right. Whether or not they believe they can do a better job, it's not the reason why necessarily they are picking forms. They are picking the forms, first of all, because they are right. When you turn certain age and you're of sound mind, the Constitution gives you the right or the liberty to contest, to have your electoral freedom and rights. So people are just expressing their rights. As to whether they can do the job, it's a different matter. When they get the opportunity and they come, yes, we can attest to their presidency or their reign. But let people be given the opportunity to, express their rights as enshrined under the Constitution. No one is being gagged not to speak. No one is being gagged not to proceed with whatever he or she believes in. It's very good for our democracy, the expression of free will, the expression of rights to electoral processes and vying for positions in the country. It's everyone's right. Let people go ahead and do what they believe is best and right for them. At the end of the day, the onus rests on the Ghanaian to choose who they believe can lead us. So we can have up to
Osman,
50. By the end of the day, the people will make their choice.
Is saying that it's good for our democracy. Do you agree? That we have 39 people who have picked up presidential forms as we speak.
Why not? I mean, if individuals feel that they are capable and they have much more superior knowledge or ideas as to how to run this country, I encourage any number that wants to, contest for presidency, be it 100, 200. I don't think any number should be capped. And the Constitution, of course, makes room for anybody above a certain age who thinks, or who is of sound mind and wants to contest for president. I think it's within their rights, and this democracy accepts and allows them to contest. So I don't see any problem with it. I just want to encourage more young people who have that, great ideas and want to run this country to step up and contest. Because day in, day out, you experience so many individuals, trying to bastardize the two political parties. You're unable to manage this country, you're unable to do this. So I think if we have many more young individuals who want to be president contest, it's good for our democracy.
Okay, so you both agree. Let's move away from the politics for a bit. Now, on the back page, make refusal to vaccinate dogs punishable by law. And the story reads, Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies must make new bylaws or review existing ones so as to punish people who have not vaccinated their dogs. The revised or new bylaws, which should lead to the arrest and prosecution of owners of such dogs, would help control the spread of rabies. An Associate Professor of Veterinary Medicine, Richard Dusu, has said, expressing worry that rabies was still an epidemic in this country, an endemic in the country. Quote, the disease is highly endemic here and we have to take steps to stop it. If we do not fight hard, we are going to have a problem because the more it leaks into wildlife, then the control becomes impossible. Everyone must make sure that they get involved so that we eradicate this canker. It's very dangerous, he said. This is my last story here, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. But what's your take on this?
They're going in the right direction. Just last Sunday, after church, a daughter of a church member was bitten by a dog, right after church. And they went to a facility nearby, private facility, and they spent quite an amount of money. And the child...
Did the dog have rabies?
And the owner said yes, he had been vaccinated or been injected. And I asked for how long, the last time the vaccination was done. And beyond that, the trauma alone to the child, I can tell how the child is going to behave whenever she sees a dog, the mental health aspect of it and how much it's affected the finances of my friend and the wife, quite a young family. So you move about and you see stray dogs, and I have serious phobia for dogs myself. So yes, when I'm coming to your house and you have a dog, unless you come and pick me, otherwise I won't enter your place. And we see a number of stray dogs on our street, and it's quite alarming. You do not know which of them is vaccinated and which is not. And they are mingling with us, they are all over the place. And we ask the Environmental Protection Agency if it falls within their domain to take a critical look at it. If some can be, excuse my word, those homeless ones can be executed. I believe they need to be executed. Yes.
Maybe a shelter for them executed. I'm sorry.
The stray ones, with all due respect to animal rights, the stray ones who you can tell from their physique.
You don't have to kill them. You can just build a shelter for them where stray dogs can be sick, the animal that's where you can even turn it into an agency where you can adopt.
With all due respect, I'm saying that there are some you see that you can tell this animal is healthy. But if this animal you can tell, even from the physique alone, that all is not well, that animal is dangerous. Even to those who would wish to even protect and create shelter for such animals. And we are seeing them on our streets, in our communities, and whatnot. So I believe a lot more needs to be done.
I do not believe we should put down dogs because they don't look healthy.
To be done. A lot more needs to be done to get rid of whichever way, whether we are going your way or the other way.
I back the call as well that there should be stricter regulations, or it should be backed by law, vaccination, because this is health we are talking about. But I disagree on the part that
when someone is infected, when someone is infected with rabies, the health effects and ramifications of rabies on your life.
He has the floor now.
This issue of animals, especially dogs, I think it's one that we need to take a more serious look at it. Because in some cities, I think it's even a bit manageable within the capital city. But you go outside the capital city, you go to other places, you go to especially the rural areas, you see so many dogs within a particular neighborhood. And it's interesting, sometimes they look like they don't even have owners, or they don't belong to any home, or they don't belong to anybody. But these are domestic animals or pets. And I believe that every dog at least should have an owner, or it should have a home that it goes to. And I think the local assemblies and the veterinary officers, there should be some local laws to gag the rate at which you have stray dogs moving about. Usually when it's the raining season, there are actually laws that stop most of these animals, goat, sheep, roaming about, especially in the north and where you have a lot of farming, so that they do not destroy people's farms. So during rainy season, when they see some animals around, I think the municipal assemblies are able to actually arrest some of those animals. And so you identify, and you sometimes pay before you retrieve your animal. And I think this can be done for dogs, that every dog should have an owner. And if you're identified as being the owner of that dog or that animal, and you allow it to wander about, stray about, it should be charged at least a fine or something to pay, so that you know that you are responsible for that animal, and you must take good care of it. And you must make sure that that animal doesn't stray about, trying to be a hazard or a danger to individuals.
Okay.
Because sometimes, as you said, sometimes you can see a dog can bite someone. You do not even know the history of that dog, whether it has ever been vaccinated, whether even the breed, the kind of dog it is, etc., etc. So I believe the issue of vaccination is a right call. I also think there should be an issue of proper identification of dogs. Okay. Every dog should have a name, a tag on its neck, on the chain. It should have a name. It should have the owner's name, the house number or the telephone number, etc. So that if you have the veterinary officers or the assemblies actually arrest the dog, they can identify who it belongs to, which house it belongs to.
I think we all agree that we need we need some stricter regulations to manage our pets
it's a serious issue.
Let's get into your papers now. I'll start with the new finder, and you have that, Ezekiel.
Yeah, says 1,000 jobs in 100 days for electric vehicle campaign launches transformative initiative, and telemedicine is the future of Ghana's healthcare delivery. So as a health person, clearly we are inching to...
Are you a medical doctor?
Yes, we are already in the age of digitalization and AI, and it's playing a key role in healthcare administration worldwide. If you read various reports from the World Economic Forum, international media outlets, you can see how gains are being made in telemedicine. And if you read our manifesto, it's clearly enshrined. Already, we've started every teaching hospital, regional hospital, and district hospital in the country today is signed up on the LIMS system. We've gone paperless. The next phase of our healthcare delivery is e-medicine or e-health or telemedicine. The sweetie comes to work, and if it's not an emergency where she needs to be in the hospital to be attended to by a doctor, you can call into a hospital, Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Radio Hospital, wherever, and speak to a doctor. Labs can be requested through video. You do the labs and you get back to the doctor, and then you come back to work. You don't lose working hours and all that. And the 1,000 jobs in 100 days for electric vehicles, of course, it's part of our promise to the people. And by the end of the year, we are going to see electric buses in this country. You know, when you are taking the cost of homes, food, accommodation, and transportation, they make up the chunk of any expenditure in the house. So we are taking steps to addressing those very, very issues
we
that
patiently
in fact,
await the
exactly.
arrival of these
So Dr. Baumia has given the pledge
the
and the promise that before the year ends, we are going to see some of the electric. I have some suspicion of around 100 of them coming on board. And one advantage it gives the environment is that we are going green with electric vehicles. We are not going to have vehicles that consume fuel, petrol, diesel, to give any greenhouse gases that disrupt the environment. So it's a good way to go, and we all need to support it.
Okay. Osman, what paper do you have? What stories on the front page, and which one piques your interest?
The anchor. Pollution of water bodies. I think we are back to the issue of Galamsey again, yes. Why was river wardens not deployed after recruitment? Clearly, I think there was a training of river wardens, and there's an issue as to why they were not deployed even after they were recruited and trained. Then again, you come to the issue, as I stated earlier, it has to do with strong will. It has to do your willingness to be able to fight this menace. Because if you have trained river wardens, and the paper continues to say a first batch of 100 river wardens out of 300 were trained successfully, completed their course after a 4-week intensive training. So you realize that these river wardens are supposed to actually be on the rivers to just monitor activities on the rivers, especially within the localized areas. And these were people that were passed, I think they were also trained through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Meku Duka was there at their commissioning. And you ask yourself, what has happened to all these river wardens that were trained to help us, mitigate the issue of our water pollution and our river pollution through Galamsey? Then it brings you down to the fact that people are not just interested in fighting Galamsey, because people are at the receiving end. People are benefiting from this same menace. People are involved in this activity called Galamsey. So you do not have a person who is already involved in that activity and he comes out pretending that he is fighting it. You see, there's nothing more dangerous than a man who is pretending to be sleeping. It's very difficult to wake up someone who is pretending to be sleeping. So it's very difficult to fight Galamsey, especially with someone who is pretending to be fighting Galamsey. And that is what we are currently experiencing under this administration. The NPP is pretending to be fighting Galamsey, and it has become so prevalent during their tenure. And I expect them to be very honest with the good people of this country. Once the media starts speaking to Galamsey, the next thing is that they are going to start all sorts of knee-jerk reactions and all sorts of slogans, Galam Stop, Operation Vanguard, etc., etc. What haven't we seen in this country? And most of these activities, most of these operations end up being conduits or end up being a vehicle for serious corruption, where you have excavators being missing, where you have people taking money, even on camera. So you realize that this issue of Galamsey, and I stated again, that the current administration, being led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his ministers, so far as Galamsey is concerned, they are not interested in fighting Galamsey. They are only pretending to be fighting Galamsey, and that is why we are where we are.
And that's all that time will allow us to discuss. I'll give you about 20 seconds to give me a wrap of your thoughts, and because we have to go in a minute. So, Ezekiel.
Yeah, so I understand where my brother sought
you have 20 seconds.
sought to do. Clearly, let's put the blame squarely and create the impression as though the people in the bushes, destroying our environment are paracheeks of the government. That's not the case. So the moment we go on this tangent, then clearly we are losing the fight even from there. Let's look at it as a national issue, where whether or not the person involved have political colours, there are people destroying the environment, and there should be a decisive action, a political will to get those people out and protect our environment. Let's not politicize the issues, because when you go into politics, then you are pushing us to also come and say that.
That's what you were doing in part. Anyway, our time is up. We saw the blame game.
So that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't go there.
NDC has destroyed more water bodies than us.
We shouldn't go there because they keep referring to
20 seconds. Give me a
I would want to digress a bit from the issue of Galamsey. Yesterday there was a mammoth picketing at the Ministry of Finance, and I think your reporters were there to report. And I would want to thank the many youth of this country who came out in their numbers to register their displeasure so far as the picketing or so far as the SML contract and also the issue of the ambulance case was concerned. I want to thank the young people of this country who came out in their numbers organically to register their displeasure, and those who associated with the oral group, which is the Operation Recover All Loot Brigade, who were out there. I want to thank them for their time, and we announced to them that the next venue will be the Jubilee House, and we'll communicate the dates to them again.
Some belated dedications going out to Hubert Elikem Yevu Agbi of UHAS Basic School in Home. You turned 8 years old yesterday. Your parents want you to know that you are loved and they celebrate you. Happy birthday, Mauli Yevu Agbi. Also, belated happy birthday anniversary to my friend Joan Lisa Kwashi. Girl, God bless you. May this new age come with abundance. Happy birthday and I love you. And that's how we're wrapping up for the news review segment on the AM show. Coming up next is sports.